Tim Biggam. Let's do some trading. He's lead option strategist at Delta Derivatives. Tim, what do you think about these sort of short-term pops and speculative plays around this latest story for coronavirus? You know, there's a lot of these drug companies moving on this. Any interest fundamentally in a company like Gilead?
Yeah, I think, I'm not going to be chasing it up here, given kind of the wild reaction you talked about yesterday.
Yeah.
But I think it is, as you said, carving out a floor here, that 63 level on the chart is a place I don't mind hanging my hat on. And the fact that we have earnings coming out, even though IV is not, overinflated here, they're looking at a little bit less than a 5% or so move on the straddle price implied move. So I'm just looking to be a buyer on a dip here. I think the news that came out is somewhat bullish, but I wouldn't be, rushing in to buy it based on that. I think it'll provide, maybe a slight tailwind for the stock eventually if it heads higher. So I kind of like to be a buyer on the dip. Hence, I'm going to be selling an out-of-the-money put spread that expires this week.
Okay, so the idea here is take advantage of some of the interest, right? I mean, you're basically looking at a stock now that's gotten some vol. Take advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely right. We have that, increase in vol, which means we can get a little bit bigger credit for being the same amount out of the money here. I like the chart pattern down around 63, and I like the fact that, they did come out with some, decent news. Coronavirus will obviously be a short-term help here. All I need it for is a couple of days here, so I'm selling this Friday's 63 put, hedging by buying the 61 put, getting about 25 cents here, so a little over 14% return on risk. And I like the fact that I'm positioned kind of right at that, implied move to the downside, a little bit less than 5%. So, and I'm a willing buyer on the dip here. I think Gilead, given the move we've seen, may have trouble heading higher, but I wouldn't be less than a unwilling buyer on a, deep sell-off here around the 63 area.
I like this, and you only have to make it to Friday, and to the point, as George and I was just talking about, Gilead's gone nowhere for a year. You're essentially just playing the bottom of the range, Tim.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, it's certainly a defensive stock to say the least, and and it kind of is priced in with the options only showing a 4.8 or so percent move here. So certainly kind of stodgy. So don't expect fireworks, but I'm collecting some elevated vol nonetheless. So I kind of like that combination here in a stock that hasn't moved. I would like it to move maybe to the upside, but I don't mind if it moves to the downside as long as it's not overly to the downside.
All right, gotta say I like it. Makes a lot of sense to me on the chart and the move for the last couple of days. While we got you, Tim, stocks, they're on a tear this morning, my man. So look, we don't want to try and tie too many things and causality here. I know that maybe some of the fears are starting to ebb, but what do you make of this, Tim?
Yeah, it's kind of that rush in and rush out of the growth names, really, and they're kind of getting stretched compared to value. I think if you look at the triple Qs to, say the Russell over the past year or so, that divergence has gotten to extremes here. So I kind of like value over growth for the rest of the year. I kind of like dividends, too. I think the multiple expansion almost has to come to an end here. The Fed may be easing maybe twice more this year, so maybe a little bump up, but I think earnings growth is going to actually have to come through. Last year we saw 92% of the gains based on multiple expansion, not actually on earnings growing. So this year I think it's going to be the reverse of that. We may see a slight multiple expansion, but probably not. We're going to actually need earnings to come through, and that may be difficult given the slowing growth now that we have Corona. All
right. We'll be watching that 10-year because it's been pretty closely tied to those value stocks. See if we can get some interest rate, climbing. But today, a nice move for it. We'll see if it lasts. We're bouncing off some of those areas in the 10-year yield. Tim, appreciate it as always. Good stuff here. Talking some Gilead. Love the trade. Tim's lead option strategist at Delta Derivatives.